Hi, I'm Lacey Artemis, and this is the Quick Thoughts vlog. Today I'm going to actually ask you a question. I'm going to attempt to answer or speculate on an answer myself, but this time I'm really curious to hear what you think. And so the crux of this question is, we're all familiar with post-apocalyptic ideas in movies or books or video games, and we obviously don't really want to live, most of us probably don't want to live through one of those ourselves, but we're all fascinated by the idea in some sense. And we're not quite living through it with this pandemic, but we are experiencing something that most of us have never experienced before. And so the question that I have been pondering and that I'm going to present to you today is, if you think forward 100 years into the future after the fall of society, so not 100 years from right now, this current situation, but imagine that at some point in the future, maybe the near future, maybe more distant, but society collapses in such that the things that you know, like going to the store and going to anything that you kind of used to right now would not be. It would just be, people would be more in like kind of villages again and farming and just trying to survive. And so the question is, from that point forward, the humans that are left, the humans that have survived the fall of society, they continue on for 100 years. What things do you think that they have chosen to keep? What have they managed to preserve? What matters to them? Like there's really easy things like books and photographs and maybe even paintings. Although I'm not sure how many people would save paintings. But again, it depends, because when your reality changes and your needs and your comforts change, you never know. But I wouldn't personally see a lot of value in saving a painting, probably, but that's just me. It would depend on the painting. But those are sort of things, so like, little knickknacks or mementos, little things that are easy to kind of carry, not too heavy, don't take up too much space. I can see them surviving. But when I get to things like media, like music or movies, those sorts of things are a lot harder to preserve. Because right now we're used to these things being on physical or digital mediums. Physical mediums, you need a device to play. You need a record player or a CD player or a tape deck. Movies, you would either need a DVD player, or you would, a lot of us now, we stream these things or we download them off the internet and then we watch them off of a device. But if you hypothetically imagine and assume that we don't have those devices anymore, that the time has passed, we don't have the components anymore, they can't still be maintained, and so eventually we're just left with whatever we have that doesn't need electricity and doesn't need replacement components. And that also brings up an interesting argument in terms of music, because instruments could preserve and could endure, and then it's a question of what types of music would endure. Because you would imagine right now, if people had to choose what music to save, they'd probably be saving like pop music and rock music and maybe blues and maybe some jazz, like things that are generally more palatable and enjoyable, things that you can kind of dance to, you can relax to. Things like that I like heavy metal, I don't know how long that would endure. That might die out pretty quickly. And yeah, but instrument-wise, if people manage to keep instruments, but they, guitars and bass, like maybe more unusual instruments like theremins or something, those might not endure, but like acoustic guitars, and again, it would depend on if the strings endured, if you could still get replacement strings, or if you could make strings out of something else. I'm curious to know, I wish I could know, in 100 years after the fall of civilization, what instruments would still exist, who would still play them, what types of music would they play. It might be back like in the very old, before the Middle Ages, maybe, before there was physical mediums to record and store music on, that the only way you could hear music is if someone actually played it on an instrument live. There was no such thing as recordings. That might become a reality again. And then there's things like sports I also think about. I don't watch a lot of sports. I follow hockey. That would almost certainly be gone in post fall of civilization. Certainly ice hockey, maybe roller hockey, maybe just ball hockey. Again, it's not that hard. You just kind of need sticks and a ball. Baseball, a stick and a ball. Soccer, probably the easiest one. You just need something around that you can kick around. But which of these sports would endure? What would still exist in 100 years after the fall of society? And so I've been rambling long enough. I want to hear what you think. So please leave comments below, send me messages. What do you think? What would you save? What do you think is the first thing that might go? And so with that, this has been a slightly longer than usual Quick Thoughts vlog. Thank you for watching. You can check out my support me on Patreon, or you can email me, and you can also check out my website for my other work. But that's all for now. And let's hope we don't have to experience 100 years after the fall of civilization.